You are listening to Crow Voices 87.9 FM on the web, crowvoices.blogspot.com. We now go to bsnorlblogspot.com for a story on the oversight hearing on the setting of standard domestic policy implications on the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Friday, June 10th, 2011. U.S. Senate, I'm just going to start already. Washington, the U.S. State Committee on the Indian Affairs conducted a controversial hearing on the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples on Thursday. Few people in the Indian country who are responsible for the creation, who are pressing for the implementation of the Declaration, who were formed and invited to testify. Native Americans who were not invited to testify. The hearing includes indigenous rights groups fighting for the protection of the land and natural resources. The Senate hearing began with a controversial address by Senator Al Franken of Minnesota, pointing to Indian countries and natural resources and need to develop energy. It indicates that some view the Declaration as means to pursue exploitation of natural resources, which includes power plants, mining, and drilling in Indian country. Senator Franken in Indian country represents 5% of the landmass and 10% of most natural energy resources. Senator Franken, the opportunities for wind and solar conventional resource development. He said tribal leaders tell him hurdles in financing, regularity, hurdles in energy development. The testimony comes as many American Indian councils continue to exploit natural resources, while grassroots Indian visit to protect their Mother Earth have harmful defects caused by the coal. Okay, just checking the sound check. Certain testimony comes harmful effects caused by coal-fired power plants and coal mining and oil gas drilling. Indigenous grassroots people have pointed to the effect of Indian coal-fired power plants, the melting of the Arctic, and other global warming effects. The hearing did include an excellent video from Indian country. Native grassroots groups are also fighting the loss of Indian water rights and excessive use of water. In the power plants and energy development, the Navajo Nation throughout the Indian country. Further, they point to a country poised water, aerosol in Indian country, resulting in widespread health problems and foreign pollution. The hearing did include an excellent video from throughout the Indian country. A message from Drona was not killed in Pakistan, referring to the code name during Osama bin Laden attack. He was produced by filmmaker Ryan Redcorn, Osage, and Dallas Goldtooth, the Indigenous Environmental Network. During his testimony, Redcorn described how Indian women are being pressured to become sterilized in the past and even today, describing the land jurisdiction and crime which makes lives difficult. Redcorn said he wants to live during an era of human rights. Senator Daniel Aka of Hawaii, chair of Senate Committee, began the hearing on Thursday with reference to Brian Redcorn's film Smiling Indians and discussed the images which portray indigenous peoples. As Native people, and it's important to tell our own stories, Senator Aka told a hearing he spoke of indigenous rights and holding ourselves in the world accountable. During the land rights, self-government, and U.S. Indian nations consult were key issues. Senator Aka said the hearing was to be held to determine an additional legislation needed for implementation of the Declaration. He questioned the current federal law is adequate to ensure rights within the Declaration. Aka strives as human rights leader globally. It is important to begin with human rights work here at home. Leadership must start here at home, he said. The Senate committee is announcing in its announcement of hearing The hearing viewed the declaration as international policy goal. However, it's far from standard hope for by indigenous people. The declaration, resource, and rights would be guaranteed from federal courts if the declaration is honored as a legal document. U.S. and Canada had the last two countries in the world who voted against the declaration at UN finally voiced to support it. However, the U.S. and Canada included language designed to prevent declaration from being used as a legal document to ensure Indian rights. During the hearing, Senator Franken questioned the lack of Indian school construction in the U.S. Lack of funding Indian schools constructions in the U.S., he said, is a great deal of frustration by the Indian leaders over bureaucracy caused by the BIA. James Anaya, special reporter on the rights of indigenous peoples, testified on Thursday. Anaya said legislative bodies should be declaration as guide for action and direction. Although declaration is true is not itself a treaty, is strongly authoritative statement that builds on the provisions of multiple human rights and treaties to the United States. Were given 5 minutes to write oral testimony and submitted a written testimony. As most government hearings, a greater deal of self-congratulation and efforts a little too hard-hitting criticism. The written record will be open for a written testimony for 2 weeks for comments. Articles. You are listening to Crow Voices 87.9 FM on the web. We've been listening to BS Norwell blogspot.com for a story on the oversight hearing on the setting standard domestic policy implications of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Thank you for listening.